Hello again everybody and welcome. Just got a few items to show you this time. There's an eBay purchase, something I picked up from Kronos actually a few weeks ago, but I haven't got around to showing you. A little upcoming project that I'm still working out exactly how I want to do it and how much I want to do. A little motorcycle suspension adaptation, and then as the sun was actually shining earlier today, and it's even quiet out here, the rain isn't hammering down, the roof panels aren't flapping in the wind, so yeah, got a couple of the bikes out in the back lane, and as I was moving things around the shop, and I'll do you a little walk around and tell you a little bit about those. So let's go over to the other camera and I'll show you what we've got. Okay, I've got a little digital vertical scale to put a quill feed on the mill, and Kronos Tools had these marked down to about £18.50, certainly for walk-in customers. You can, obviously it's got the usual imperial and metric, and you can also, well, let's zoom in so you can actually see what we're doing here. Right, just trying to find an angle where you can see the buttons, and well, let's try it around that way. Yeah, there we go. You can see the numbers and the buttons, but I can actually, if I hold it down long enough, you can preset a number. It's not the nicest interface. You can see it gets faster and faster, and then stops, and then starts slow again, and we can increment and decrement it. Oops, let's get it the right way. Haven't quite made up my mind exactly how to mount it. I still like to be able to set up a hard depth stop and use the trip out, so I want to make that mechanism behind accessible, and I'm probably going to shorten the scale down. So that will probably be a future project. Now everybody's familiar with the, well, many people are now familiar with the Noga indicator arms, and perhaps have seen my video on tuning up one of the cheap copies. Well, I just happened to spot on eBay this monster, which is a Manfrotto. Let's do it. Should we lift it up to see it? Yeah. There we go. Who are tripod manufacturers. So this is for camera and lighting use. This was sold as spares or repair on eBay. Paid about £26 for it because it didn't lock up. So I thought, well, you know, for the money we'll take it apart and we'll have a play and see what we can do with it. And it arrived, and sure enough, that's loose to tight, so what, about 110 degrees or something. And sure enough, it made nasty crunching noises and it didn't lock up properly. So I started to take it to bits, and I thought, oh, I'd really ought to do this on video. So I started tightening it up again, and after I'd done that, it worked perfectly. So here it is, all nice and loose, and here it is. I can barely move it. So I think we'll call that a successful purchase. This is what's called a damper rod from a motorcycle telescopic fork. Let's come a little tighter here. So you've got piston rings at the top, and these are plastic rings with a wire expander behind them, and they're not, you know, these things are pretty ropey. They're moulded by the look of them, and the wear on them is uneven, and I don't think they ever, you know, if I compress the gap completely down, they're smaller than the piston, which is of course smaller than the bore they've got to run in. The welding up the top here is needs cleaning up at the very least. They've got a check valve assembly, which just consists of a washer with a retaining cage, and when it lifts up, the fluid can come around from underneath and out the past the sides, and then when the pressure's in this direction, it's meant to seal. And this thing is not a precision fit on the damper rod. You know, there's a lot of, so that's something I'm probably going to want to make a new valve assembly for. This is the rebound damping hole. So the valve, as it's coming up this way, is pushing oil through this hole, and got quite a lot leaking past the valve, but it's meant to be through that hole. That hole's pretty big, so these are pretty thick oil, and then that makes the damping in the opposite direction, the compression damping, pretty harsh as going through these two holes. So one of the common things that gets done is these holes get enlarged so that they have little effect, and a little device like this, known as a cartridge emulator, originated by Racetech, sits in a little adapter on the top of the damper rod, except it would do if there wasn't all this weld on there. This extension here is to no purpose, and makes the I mean, I already made an adapter, but it's longer than I'd like, so I'll probably modify them like this. You can see this one contaminated with water, which is why you should be changing your fork fluid every couple of years at least, because water will get in, and if it sits, it'll corrode everything. So these little valves, the silver disc you can see is sprung loaded and is another one-way valve for rebound. If you see there's a little hole there, that then becomes your compression damping hole, instead of these two big ones. But then the disc that little hole is in is separate and is held down by the spring, so when the oil pressure gets to a certain point, it lifts the disc against the spring pressure, and the oil can then come out this large gap. And that's what modern suspension units do, using stacks of shims that bend out the way. But this is a nice simple device. These are a copy of the original Racetech emulators that I'm experimenting with. So we've got to you know, do all the improvements to the damper rod, new rebound valve, etc., new piston rings, possibly, to be quite honest, a whole new rod assembly, precision machined, or at least to my level of capability, rather than this pretty crude and rattly old setup. And we'll see if that makes a nice improvement. Well, here's another rare and unusual motorcycle with a single-sided front suspension, and these are my pair of 1991/92 Gilera CX125s. They were built during a time in Italy when there was no power restriction for learner riders, only the 125cc capacity limit. So these are close on 30 horsepower machines with a quoted top speed of 105, and these were by far not the most powerful or fastest 125s available at the time. So let's just have a look at that front suspension. It's actually still a telescopic fork. Let's see if we can find a decent angle. Now you can see it's an upside down single telescopic with a scissors joint to transfer the steering, very much like an aircraft nose wheel. And it was connected to the standard Gilera pressed steel frame of the time. People often mistake them for an alloy frame, but they are a welded steel frame, and matching single-sided swing arm on the back. And the other side is perhaps not quite so tidy and pretty. Got this thing, it's a 320mm cast iron semi-floating disc with a 4-pot caliper. And here's my complete one. I mean, the other one's complete, I've got all the bits, but I did swap the body panels around a little to get the best set. It's quite fun to ride. It's an electronically operated power valve that snaps open at 8,000 RPM. It's quite a clever little system. It just uses an ordinary solenoid to operate the cable. That way, if the power valve has gummed up, it won't burn the servo out like some of the Kajivas, for instance, do. I think it was one of the first motorcycles to use a car-style dashboard. Though changing the clock battery probably takes about 2 hours. I know I've had this machine a few years now. It's been around the Cadwell Park circuit a few times, though I never push it particularly hard. The thought of having to repair all that bodywork and, you know, replacement panels weren't easily available even when it was new. Kind of tempers how much enthusiasm you ride with. I'm not really a two-stroke fan, or indeed a enclosed bodywork fan, but these are just so unusual and unique. I had to have one when I saw one.